Hi, I'm Brittany and I'm the marketing manager here at Pack Health, and I'm also a group fitness instructor. Today, we are going to be doing an upper body workout with your stretch band. For the purpose of this exercise, you're gonna be doing about 8 to 10 reps of each exercise, or however many you're comfortable with. Make sure to get your band nice and stretched out to get started, and let's jump in. So, we're gonna start out with our triceps. For this, you can take your band and you can either take it nice and long behind you, or you can fold it in half to get a little bit of extra tension. I'm gonna fold it in half so that I'm just gonna find it halfway, grab it, take it in my right hand and place it behind me. So I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see what's going on. You're gonna take your feet about hips distance apart and take a slight bend in your knees. Your arms should be long in front of you or long behind you, pressing your wrists nice and long, shoulders are back and down, core is pulled in. We're gonna hinge over at our waist and try and get our arms up to that parallel position. So we wanna try and get them parallel with that ceiling here, making sure those wrists are staying nice and long. You wanna keep those elbows nice and straight, and we're just gonna take a gentle lift. So you're just gonna take it lift and lift. And remember, you can take this at really whatever tension you're comfortable with. So if you need to walk it out a little bit more or just take a little bit less tension, you are going totally okay with that. Or if you want an extra little piece of work, you can find that press out on that band and keep that tension going the whole time. So what I mean by that is that when it's behind you, you would actually be pulling out on that band to find that press out. So you're finding that lift right here. So it's lift, lift. Just lifting it up just a little bit higher and keeping that core pulled in, keeping those shoulders nice and relaxed. For our next exercise, we're going to do a tricep press. So it's going to be in the same position that we were just in. So again, you can take it nice and long, or you can fold it in half. Grabbing your band behind you, I like to put a press out on mine so that it adds a little bit of tension on there. When you press it out, it's gonna make your arms shake a little bit, but that's where the magic happens. So you're gonna take your feet just underneath your hips, again, pressing your band behind you and sending your arms up so they're parallel with the ceiling. And making sure that your wrists are nice and long, we have a soft bend in our knees. And you're just gonna take a gentle press out. So you're gonna feel this pretty immediately on those triceps as you take that press out on that band. Being conscious when you are taking that press out so that the press out is moving with control, and then you have control over the band as it moves back to center. You don't wanna take it out and just let it ricochet back, because then you lose all that work and all that tension. So really find that press out and then release it back with control. Doing this while it's behind you and keeping your arms nice and lifted, keeping your elbows nice and straight, shoulders are pulled back and down. For our next exercise, we have tricep extensions. So you can take your band and keep it nice and long, or you can also fold it in half. I'm gonna fold it in half. So what you're going to do is you're gonna take your band and you're gonna drape it behind you. So you can either take it behind you this way and curl it up, or you can swing it behind you, and then you're going to grab it with your other hand. So I'll show you what it looks like from behind. You're gonna firmly grasp it in your left hand or your right hand, whenever you're holding it in. Grab onto the other side with your right hand and trying to keep your elbow close up to the ceiling, keeping your shoulder pressed away from your ears and keeping your wrist nice and long. So making sure it's not hyper flexing around. We want to keep it nice and sturdy. We're going to lift up, taking our hand nice and tall, and then lower it back down. Press it back up and then lower it with control. So where you're gonna be feeling this is right here. So that's where you're gonna be feeling that tricep extension. So when you extend it up, you wanna be squeezing up, keeping your wrist long, and then pull it back down. So trying to keep this as stationary as possible is really key. So you can do this with that band nice and long and really decide what your level of tension is. If you take it with a little bit less slack, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to do it, but you're gonna get a little bit more work in. Doing it with a gentle cadence, so not trying to ricochet it back and forth, but trying to move it nice and controlled. Our next exercise is going to be a lat squeeze. For this one, you're going to definitely want your band to be folded over. You can honestly even do it fold it over another time so you get that maximum engagement and that maximum tension. You're going to want to take your hands and put them pretty close in together, rolling your shoulders back, pressing them away from those ears, and your elbows are going to be nice and wide. I like to have my hands touching at the start of this, and you're going to rip that band apart, finding that squeeze of your lats. So what that looks like is when you open your arms up, you're going to squeeze your lats together, which essentially looks like pressing your shoulder blades together. I like to call this my tearing up my heart when I'm with you action. So a little bit of Backstreet Boys action as we pull on that band and you release it with control. So you're just finding that lat squeeze together while still keeping those shoulders pressed away and keeping your core pulled in. So just find that squeeze, release it with control, and then press it back so that you get that maximum lat engagement. For our next exercise, we're gonna go into a bicep curl. It's going to be a half up curl and then also a half down curl. The benefit of this is that it's going to get you maximum engagement on all areas of that bicep. So you're gonna find all that engagement all the way around while doing very small movements. For this part, you're going to take your band and you are going to fold it in half. Grab your band so that it's just outside of your hips while your feet are hips distance apart. So I like to pick a little bit more of a press out on that band so you get a little bit more engagement and roll your shoulders back and down. The easiest way to get this engagement early is to really try and find that flex in your arm. So flex your arm and you're going to be finding that shake really early on. That'll help you keep that tension point so that you can keep this little tiny movement and actually make it really impactful. So your wrists are nice and long. You're keeping that press out on your band and you're gonna take it to a lift and then a halfway lower. Lift it and then halfway lower. Making sure just to keep that band at a tension point that's sustainable so that you can press it up and then just lower it down to that halfway point. So I'm gonna turn to the side so you can see it. You're gonna lift it and then lower. Pressing it up and then pressing it down. For our next exercise, we're gonna keep it in the same position, but really just switch that direction. So you're keeping that same tension on your band, you're keeping that same wrist, feet are still hips distance apart. You're gonna lower it down and then squeeze it up halfway. Lower it down and then find that squeeze to the top. Still keeping that same flex that we had that whole time, so you're still flexing that arm, and after a couple of reps of these, you should be able to feel that shake pretty early, and then keeping that same tension, pulling out every time that you take these bicep curls. For our next exercise, we're gonna be using the stretch band to do front raises. Bring your band halfway apart. You can really do this with your band totally extended. It's a little bit easier to do it because you won't have as much slack pulling off the other side. You're gonna wanna bring your band just long in front of you. So roll your shoulders back and down and extend your arms nice and long. I like to find some tension on it early. The easiest way I've found to do this is to place my hands close together and then press them out to my desired point of tension. You can do it however much tension you want to add, but try and add a little bit on there so that it keeps those arms nice and long while also maximizing your work out of this exercise. So pressing out on your band, taking your wrist nice and long and pulling your core in, you're going to lower it down and then squeeze it right back up to the top. You lower that band, lift it up. When you take that band down, you're still keeping your shoulders back and down, and you're trying to make sure to minimize any wiggle around room in that body. Think of everything below that underarm area as essentially a statue, and you're just lifting it up and then lowering it down, keeping that press out going that whole time. Our Pack Moves playlist on YouTube has a lot of other exercise options that you can do as well. If you have any questions about exercise, make sure to talk to your provider, and if you have any additional questions, talk to your health advisor.